So, welcome to the Terry Cole Show. I'm shooting a special episode actually with my membership, which is TCM, which is really simple Terry Cole membership. We just were like, do we need a fancy name or should we just name it what it is? That is what it is. So, if you don't know about TCM, you might want to. And we'll have all the show notes, all the links in the show notes for you. So if you happen to just be here, you're like going through podcasts and you're like, oh, what is this? Or oh, you're on YouTube. If you don't know me, my name is Terri Cole. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, relationship expert, the author of Boundary Boss and the Boundary Boss Workbook, and my brandy new book called Too Much, coming out hfcbook.com. And before we get into it, if you happen to be new to my YouTube channel, if you're watching the video, introduce yourself in the comments and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you get notified when we roll out new videos, really, because you're the people I make the videos for. And I roll out new stuff for free every Tuesday and every Thursday, and I wouldn't want you to miss it. And actually, it helps me if you subscribe. And hi, no skin off your back. So I just say subscribe. Today, for those of you who don't know, is my 25th wedding anniversary, which is pretty exciting. And I can't believe it's 25 years. And here's the weirdest thing about being with someone for 25 years, well, really 27, but is that I'm looking at all the pictures that are in this. We did this reel together. And you go, I remember every single one of those memories. And like, even though we've changed, of course, all my friends are like, you guys haven't changed at all. I'm like, P.S., of course we have. And that's okay. I would expect for us to change. But it's kind of amazing that you can make it and still actually be in a good thing. So I'm going to ask you guys, are there couples in your life, right, who make you think, right, what do they know about love that I don't know? Or couples that seem happy? If you haven't had that as a model of behavior, do you ever think, how do they do it? Or do you see couples on TV and wonder, what do you have to do to get that kind of love? Where can I find it? If you think other people have love all figured out and you weren't sure how to figure it out yourself, then this episode of the Terri Cole Show is for you, my friend. For you guys who are actually here with me live, if you have thought that, just drop a yes in the chat so I can see I'm not alone in this. Because again, those of you who know my story, you also know I was that person. I was like forever with one person. Oh, that sounds terrible. Even though I loved the boyfriends I had before Vic, right? But then when I actually thought till the end of time, oh yeah, no, that's too long. That's not interesting. So anyway, today what we're going to be talking about is how you do it. And in so many ways, how do we do something different from what we saw? Because that's what I needed to do. I didn't have a good model of behavior. And you guys, many of you know, I did a big survey a bunch of years ago. And I think 64% of the people that we surveyed said they did not have a good model of love in their life. Like they didn't see it. So obviously my young relationships, I was sort of repeating what I had seen, which I didn't know it then that I was such a friggin' high functioning codependent. I wouldn't have been able, I didn't have that language that I was, oh my God, the over and under functioning was just ridiculous. And of course, now I say that in my 20s, I could take a perfectly capable dude and turn him into an under functioner in 2 weeks or less, simply by being like, I got it. I got it. I got it. Not ever wanting to be a burden, not ever wanting to really, I mean, if we really drill down into HFCs and why is it that we like to do for you, but we would rather you not do for us, is don't want to be a burden, sure. Don't want to owe you. Don't want to feel like I owe you. And that's like not a healthy relationship, right? When you think about it that way, where it's like, are we all really keeping tabs like that? But I can say in my young life for sure, I also felt like if I did everything for someone, if I fulfilled all their needs, this would protect me from them leaving me. Right, right. This is how I would secure my spot in the relationship, is that I would be the most amazing girlfriend any person ever had in their life. Obviously, since that did not work because I'm not being myself. There was a lot of performative stuff in there. Amanda said, me to a T. Yes, yes. I feel you on what is it like to constantly be managing? And that's really what, for me, that it was. I never entered my mind that my boyfriends were people for me to be heart-centered honest with. Never. My sisters either. We would cover for each other. We'd have boyfriends calling the house and I'd be like, here, I'm not here. Like, this was like, we were all on the same team of managing the relationships and the men in our lives. But of course, that didn't ultimately get me what I wanted. I really did want healthy love. And I, after really analyzing my parents' marriage and growing up a little bit, maybe getting into my 20s, I was so positive what I didn't want, right? My parents didn't have a terrible, awful, horrible relationship. It really wasn't. But it was like meh. And I was like, why am I more afraid of mediocrity than like going down like in a show of flames? Like, I feel like settling for mediocrity always seemed more painful. Yeah, Grace said avoiding abandonment by abandoning ourselves. Exactly right. Exactly right. But not knowing. Oh, Penny said running interference like a football game. That is so HFC, right? We're like making sure there's no problems. There's no problems. But of course, how much self-abandonment are we doing in that process? Stepping in to cover for others' disengagement. Oh, yeah, totally. Like, and Renee, when you say that, it's like picking up the ball of the conversation, right? Someone's not doing the amount of work that's sort of required. They don't need to because we'll do it. But again, I would leave those situations or those interactions or those social situations and be completely and totally exhausted. So after many years of therapy, after a conscious decision that I would reject the male bashing in my family of origin. I have to say that's true. Like my father made all the money, so in one respect he had all the power, but in another way, I always knew that women in heterosexual relationships were the neck that wagged the head. That there was that everything got done because women were actually doing all of it except the making the money, at least in my family of origin. That didn't mean my mother had power. It meant she had power behind the scenes, right? So it was like I learned to sort of do all of those things. But as I got older and had some therapy, I was like, yeah, you know, it sounds terrible doing that for the rest of my life. That sounds terrible. I do not want to do that for the rest of my life. And then I got to a point in my romantic life where I was like, oh, you know what? The truth for me is I would rather be single. And I don't mean it like boo hoo. I meant my life was great. I was not sad to be single. After the last relationship of making myself small with someone who my success threatened them, I made more money than them, they were threatened, like everything. I was too much of all the things. And I was like, if I have to shrink, this can't possibly be the right relationship for me. It can't be. And am I willing to shrink forever? And the answer was no. So anyway, got out of that relationship and just decided no more unexamined minds in my dating life. No more men who hadn't had a lot of therapy. I just wasn't doing it. And my friends were all like, good luck. But I was like, no, you know what? I believe that my person is out there if I'm meant to be partnered in this way. Because for a long time, I just thought this just isn't meant for me in this lifetime. And that's okay. I have all these other amazing things that have been meant for me in this lifetime. And I never was that a woman who identified like, as like I need to become a wife or I need to become a mother or like I really didn't. I think passively thought those things would just happen, but it wasn't. Like I have, you know, one of my sisters, like her driving force in life was having kids and no judgment. Great. I love my nieces and nephew, you know, but that wasn't me. And I also didn't have pressure from family. Yes. And Renee said that's hard in families where you have to shrink. Exactly. But families where you have to shrink prep you to know how to do it in relationships where you feel compelled to shrink. You know what I mean? That now you like have this skill. But I also think that there can be pressure. I didn't have, you know, my mother was always giving me the vibe like make your own money, get an education, girl, make your own money so that maybe love one day for you can be a want, right? And not a need. Like it could be a nice to have, but not it's the thing that makes me me, right? My mother, of course, got pregnant in 1958 or seven, right? This was like, there was no abortion then, as there is not now. And so there wasn't a lot of choices. The people in 1957 weren't like, yay, I'm going to be a single mom. That wasn't the way that it was. And I know that she wanted so much more for us. And so I got it. She was like, do not get married young. Definitely don't. This covert and overt messaging about when to do what. And so I think that I was very lucky to not feel the pressure of having to be married, or like, what's wrong with you? You're not married at 25. Some families feel that way and some cultures feel that way still, Anyway, so what I'm sharing with you today is what I learned in 25 years of marriage and 27 years of being in the same relationship, of ways to keep it good. Like, what are the ways? Number one, you have to have mutual respect. You just must. And it has to go both ways, obviously, hence the word mutual. But I feel like if you don't respect the person that you're with, sooner or later, either you will leave them, you will want to step out on that, because lack of respect, it's really hard to stay in a relationship with someone you don't respect. I feel like that really erodes the relationship. And also putting up with a lack of respect. I really feel like from the beginning of any relationship, but this is not just romantic relationship, you guys. This is friendships as well. It's like having the bar high. What do I always say, right? How we treat ourselves sets the bar for every other relationship in your life. So it's really important that we set it high, treat ourselves well. And then we're constantly showing other people how to treat us with what we tolerate or not, with what tone of voice. Someone has a tone of voice, I don't like it. I just say, hey, 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 one sec. I'm not sure what is happening with that aggressive tone, but can you back it up for 1 sec? Let's talk about this, but I'm going to ask you to talk about it minus that tone. Some people are like, you're the tone police. I don't care. I literally don't care. If you're having a super edge when we're talking, that does not work for me. And I don't do that to you. So I think there's also, if you are a respectful person, it's easier to say, I treat you with your respect and I expect the same. All right. Number two, communicate honestly and authentically. Honest communication up levels our relationships. As you know by now, regardless of what you did or didn't learn growing up, you can learn to effectively communicate. And so much of the work of getting into recovery from being a high functioning codependent is learning to handle the way it makes us feel, to honestly communicate when things are bad, if something's negative, if you have a complaint, if you would like to make a simple request that they change something, right? We have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because if you've been a people pleaser, if you are someone who doesn't like to rock the boat, it can be difficult, but you can learn it one next right action at a time, one script at a time, which is why I'm always giving you guys scripts, because it's helpful to have words, even if they're not words that you could have or would have come up with yourself. You can try them on and be like, okay, I think I can say that. Number three, to long lasting love, is actually really liking the other person. I know that there are a lot of relationships we see depicted in movies and different places where it's like, oh, this person just drives me crazy. And then I can't wait to have really wild sex with them. But like, drives me crazy, makes me crazy, all of this stuff. Like, I'm not interested in that kind of love. And I got to say, I don't think it's healthy. Of course, someone could get on your nerves in 27 years. Obviously, that's normal. And anyone you've had a relationship with for 27 years is going to get on your friggin' nerves sometimes. That's normal. But I think that from the get-go, liking someone, if you're looking to be in a long-term relationship, because there's so much of the things that in the beginning of a relationship, especially sex, right? In the beginning of a relationship, we're just naturally drawn, especially when you're not in perimenopause or menopause, you're naturally drawn to wanting to be physical. Many people, not everybody, not everybody. So I won't make a sweeping generalization. I could say my own experience was just the most natural thing in the world. It didn't matter. We could be getting home at 4 a.m. from a party and still somehow have energy to have sex. I have no idea how. I mean, I don't necessarily say that stays for 27 years. But there is something about when you like the other person, that's what you're spending most of your time doing, is being together, taking adventures, going on rides, doing whatever. Sex is important. Don't worry, that's on this list. But I feel like in long-term relationships, focusing on the things that you like about your person are incredibly important, and doing it regularly, because the longer you're together, the easier it is to focus on the shit that gets on your nerves. Right. And that's the stuff that we don't necessarily want to do. Right. Because then that's the stuff. What do they say? What you put your attention on grows. All right. Number four, create a flexible shared couples vision. Those of you in my crew, we've talked about this before. how do you want your lives to be? How do you want to spend your time? How are you going to spend your money? So it's something that in the show notes to this show, I'll actually give you guys a step-by-step process to do. But it's really getting intentional about where do we want to live? If we have extra money, how do we want to spend it? If we even share money. I interviewed someone, Britt, for the Relationship Summit, and she was talking about she and her husband got married later in life. They have completely separate money and they live in separate houses, I think, or they definitely sleep in different bedrooms. But I was so fascinated by her story because I was like, wow, there's so many different ways to be in a relationship with other people that work. She seemed so happy in her relationship and so respectful of her partner's need for autonomy and what I think he's a military guy. Anyway, we want to do a couple's vision so that you're not blindsided later. And I mean, obviously, the important things you need to be talking about, right? So don't wait until you get married to find out that your partner doesn't want children if that's like the bane of your existence and the most important thing in your life, right? But I feel like we can do that with other things too, right? Some people will be like, oh, I just assumed that you knew that I wanted to retire somewhere warm. And if you're a Northeasterner, you don't want to retire somewhere warm. And that would be a deal breaker. Of if Vic was like, I thought you knew I wanted to move to the desert. Well, enjoy. I guess we'll have a long distance relationship because I'm definitely not moving to the desert. So I think that again, a couple's vision, super important. Number 5, do not give unasked for advice or criticism. This is so hard to not do, but especially at a lot of times in heterosexual relationships, men will think that they're there to fix. Women just want to be understood and heard. I feel like this is changing. I'm not trying to like dial into old, you know, old tropes, so to speak. But I mean, people are still writing to me on the internet and telling me it's still happening in their relationships now. So for both of you, not giving unasked for advice or criticism, and instead just saying, how can I best support you right now? Right? You can stop guessing. The person will tell you, I said that to Vic many years ago about something brutal that he was going through. And he was like, how you can best support me is have faith that I'm going to figure it out the way that I need to figure it out. And I was like, wow, okay, I will. And I literally made no more obviously I was suggesting like crazy prior to that, where he was like, please stop giving me advice that I do not want from you. All right, number 6, value what the other person wants for themselves and be a part of their solution to get it. And I think that a lot of times we get involved with someone and we see their potential or we see what we want them to do. But what's really important is, what do they want to do? Right? If your partner has a dream, if you really love them, you want that to come to fruition for them, even if that dream might be scary for you. Part of Vic's dream was being a war artist, being embedded in war zones, active war zones in the front. Hello. Did I want him to do that? Obviously, no, duh. But did I say, great, this is your dream, go for it? Of course. Because do I own Vic? I do not. I'm just lucky enough to partner with him. So that was a long 6 weeks and a long 4 weeks. But you get over it, because what is also fascinating and compelling about him to me is that he can go into a war zone and draw things on the spot that are happening in a war. Who does that? There is a very select few people in the world who can do that. So again, who am I? And listen, you guys, if I had an infant, would I be so cool? Probably not. Because if we're going to impact me in that way. But my point is, whatever your person's dream is, you want to be able to support that. Number 7, avoid ownership, jealousy, and punishing behavior. Right? You don't need to express yourself or your dislike of something by punishing your partner. Do your best to use words, right? Instead of acting out. If you're a jealous person and you are jealous in the relationship, you got to get therapy. Because being jealous and imagining that your partner is like eyeballing someone on the train or whatever the hell you're imagining is happening, that I promise you is pretty much not, that really is damaging to your relationships. And that's about your relationship to yourself, especially if you have a trustworthy partner, right? Listen, I'm not saying some people are not in situations with someone who is stepping out on them all the time, but that's a different scenario. Most of the people who write into me, they're like, my husband is very jealous. He says it's because he really loves me. He's always accusing me of flirting with the cashier at McDonald's or whatever the hell it is. Do you know what I mean? We're really talking about how much that paranoia and that negativity influences the relationship in a bad way. Okay. Number 8, and I'm not going to go through all of them, you guys. I just wanted to hit the top, maybe the top 10, and then the rest will be in the guide for this episode, which you can get at terricole.com/guide. Number 8, become an active and expert listener. So bringing the conversation back to you before the other person has finished their story. And listen, we've all been guilty of it. So no shame. No shame in your bad listening game. I feel you. I was you. I still am you at times. Trust me. But being an athletic listener, what does that mean? That means like giving expansion for the person to tell you what they're saying, right? A lot of times, and especially with folks who might be neurodivergent, it's almost like we might be wanting to make a connection by being like, me too. I had that same thing happen too, right? But and if you are neurodivergent, perhaps your person doesn't need to feel that you're taking the conversation back towards you. Like, I feel like we can negotiate what active listening is depending on how we are as people. But I know that when I'm talking to someone, generally speaking, if they do that before I'm done, it kind of makes me feel like they're not that interested in the rest of what I have to say. And it can kind of hurt my feelings or make me feel like I'm boring them, you know? So for both, I think that I really love Harville and Helen Hendricks' frame on this, which is, imago therapy, where you have, if one person is talking, the other person listens and then says, is there more? Oh, look, there's more expansion. Is there more? They may ask you twice, is there more that you want to say? And then they reflect back. If I heard you, if I got it right, you felt really excited about blah, blah, blah. Or with imago therapy, it's more about understanding what the person is saying about you, right? So in imago therapy, it's more when I don't call you when I'm going to be late, it scares you and makes you feel unimportant and makes you feel like I'm not thinking about you. Did I get that right? And this is, if you haven't heard of imago therapy, we'll put a link in the show notes, but it's really some really fascinating, super like communication on steroids in a positive way. It's great. All right. Number 9, be willing to take responsibility for your mental and physical health because a lack of it affects the other person profoundly. Stay healthy, right? To the best of your ability. Listen, sometimes we're going to get sick and we didn't do anything to get sick, right? So I'm not health blaming or shaming anybody. It's just that there are so many things that we can do to stay healthy. So if someone is drinking every night, right, and hurting their liver and being unwell in that way, like that's something that needs to be dealt with. Before Vic and I got married, there was a couple of agreements that we had. And one of them, I was like, dude, you're already 10 years older than me. You're already going to die 10 years sooner. You absolutely cannot be unhealthy. And you are responsible for that. I'm not managing your stuff. You stay physically fit, go to the doctor every year, do proactive things and things. And he was like, all right, lady, I will. And he has. And he's 70 and he's in amazing shape. And would he be if I hadn't said that? Probably. And that's kind of his nature. But I knew that I didn't want to have to manage it. And I didn't want to have to worry about it, All right. Number 10, have fun and have sex. Planning fun things is really important. It's very enlivening, right? To do fun things together, to do things that are different that you don't normally do, but to have fun, to be silly, to be unproductive, and being workaholics like Vic and I both suffer. And, we work hard to not be. We're actually going away for our anniversary today. And we're going away from Wednesday to Saturday, and someone's staying at the house with all the animals. But can you imagine how hard that was to plan? I have a book dropping on the 15th of this month. I can't even. My team basically, all right, specifically Tracy, she was like, you have to do something. You have to. And we're actually going back to the exact place that we got married. So it's still there, the Grand Victorian Hotel in Spring Lake, New Jersey. So we're actually going back and staying in the same place. It's been upgraded since then, which is so nice. And a lot of my yayas, my girlfriends, live down the shore. So we might like have some lunches and see some people. I think, and I said to Vic this morning, listen, dude, we are not being productive for the next 4 days. Yes, we can walk the boardwalk. And yes, we want to walk and we like to move our bodies, fine. But I want to sleep in. I do not know. He's like, I'm going to bring some paints. I'm like, okay, but it can't be a job. Bring paints to paint because you love to paint, not because you feel like you have to do something productive. He's like, okay, fine. Anyway, so Penny, that looks lovely. Sounds lovely, said Penny. Thank you. Who else said? Amanda said, that's so romantic. I think it is romantic and I'm excited to do it. But if you don't make the plans to do it, case in point of even sharing that, you won't do it. Other ways to prioritize having sex. Do things that are fun. When you're first together with someone, anytime you stay in a hotel, you have more sex than you do at home. Vic and I still do that. We never go on a vacation in a hotel and don't have probably double the amount of sex that we have at home just because you're having sex somewhere different. Yay. It's fun. Let's make it fun. Let's remember the way that it used to be. And I feel like when you think about sex itself, it's like, this is the thing that makes the difference between friendships and romantic relationships physically. And actually, it's interesting. There's so many incarnations now. There's so many different ways for people to be in romantic relationships. Actually, that may not even be true because there are people who are in relationships that they consider romantic and they don't have sex. So no judgment. If you're in a relationship that has had sex and that you still want to have sex, I'm just saying have more sex than you think you should. Once every 4 months is not enough. And I have friends who are married as long as me, and that's how much they're having sex. And I feel like to keep it interesting, right? You just want to prioritize that. Renee said, yes, when busyness and stress take over, self-care and fun are the first things that go for me. Love planning fun. Yes, please. All right, I'm going to do one more and then I'm going to wrap, and the rest of it is going to be in the show notes, you guys. So the last one, and I have to say, this is really hard for me. Try not to interrupt. Even when you know your partner is telling the story 100% wrong. That's not how it happened. They're missing the way to tell it that would make it a funny story. They're just making it a long, boring story. Even then, you are not supposed to interrupt. Let them tell it. So hashtag let them live, and we need to not interrupt. And we need to expect them not to interrupt, right? Accept that you are two different people. The way that your partner saw that experienced that experience, probably was not the way that you did. And you know what is so funny? In revisiting these things, that I wrote these initially in 2014, now that I'm looking at them through the lens of a high functioning codependency, I cannot believe how many of these things require us to be in recovery from high functioning codependency. And I didn't even know that phrase in 2014, right? I knew what it was. I just hadn't named it just yet. So anyway, I hope that you guys liked this experiment. I love it. If you haven't bought the book, oh my God, please do. Go to hfcbook.com. It's so exciting. The response to the book for the people who have bought it and like people who are interviewing me who've read it, because that's all the people who've read it so far, has been unbelievable, like literally making me cry. So I appreciate you joining me today. I hope you have the most amazing week. And as always, take care of you.